Hey guys, back with another Spotlight video. Today I'll be talking about Aces of the Luftwaffe Squadron. This is a vertical shooter or shmup that sells for $14.99 on the Nintendo eShop. It released a little while back in November 17th, 2017. It's an indie game that's published and developed by Handy Games, which is a German dev and publishing group. It's a little bit different as far as shmups go and shooters go, so I just wanted to break it down and get into what's different. So let's take a look at the video. Alright, so unlike most shmups, this is a story-driven shooter. It's an L story based on World War II. So basically, after the war, German forces known as the Aces of Luftwaffe invade America, and you're in control of this squadron of 4 pilots in charge of protecting America against this invasion from Germany. The characters are, you'll have 4 main characters. The main character is Mark, who is a German. Then you'll have Melissa, she does repairs, and then you'll have Steve and John, who are your wingmen. Melissa will fly behind you, Steve and John will fly on your sides. And they all have different attributes and just different maybe things that will kind of like go wrong, I guess you could say, as you're playing. So like I said, Melissa will do repairs, but she also, like, when you change altitude going up and down, this bothers her. So she may get woozy when you go up or down, and she'll go kind of just flake off and sit out. So then you'll just be fighting with the 3 of you. Now Steve, on the other hand, he's one of your wingmen, and he'll fall asleep. So you'll be going through the stage, and Steve will just fall asleep, and then you have to protect him. So you'll basically have to make sure he has a clear path going forward and nothing destroys him. So you have an escort mission in sorts to where you're protecting Steve. And then John is kind of he's the cowboy of the group, and he'll lose his temper and will just start flying around wildly to where he could crash into you and destroy your plane. So then he'll finally calm down and come back to his senses and get back in line. Cool thing is you can level up. This is kind of where this is a little bit different than most shooters, not all shooters, but most shooters, to where you can level up the attributes for all 4 members. So each member will have its own skill tree, and you can, with different attributes, and you go through as you level up through the game, and you can level up these characters, level up their attributes, and you can play through the entire story mode in either single player or with up to 4 players co-op. So there's no multiplayer, but you can play. And how it works is you would just normally you would control Mark if you're playing by yourself, and Melissa, Steve, and John will all be the computer. But if you have other people come in, you can pick what character you want to control. But like I said, it plays up to 4-player co-op, which is actually pretty fun. I had tested it out with a couple of 6-year-olds and a 3-year-old, so bear with me. And so like I said, this is it's a very story-driven game, and there's full voice acting for all the team members and the enemies, which makes it a bit of a unique experience. And the voice acting is, I'd say it's not great, but it's pretty good. It definitely pushes the story along nicely, which leads sound effects and music. The music is an epic war kind of tone music. I'd say it's above average. It's not if you're into great soundtracks for your shooters, which a lot of people are. This is probably not for you. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with the soundtrack. It's fine, but it's not the main premise. It's not the main premise of the game. You're gonna have chatter back and forth with the different characters, just snapping jokes at each other and just talking trash and flirting. So there's just different banter going on between the characters, and you'll have that going on, and then you'll have the sound effects, which are okay. Sound effects are good. I feel like that they could be a little bit louder, would be my only complaint about them. But yeah, you have the soundtrack, sound effects, and then just the voice acting. So it's kind of nothing really overlaps the other too much. The game is the game is broken up into 5 chapters, and then each chapter is then broken up into 5 levels. At the end of each chapter, you'll have a boss, which are very unique and fun boss battles. It's kind of definitely a highlight of the game is the boss battles. Having the boss that you encounter at the end of each chapter is something to look forward to, and they definitely range in difficulty. I mean, there were some bosses I beat my first time through. There's some bosses that took me, 5-10 attempts until I could take them down. So it makes it very fun. And then each level has side missions and then hidden coins. When you're loading up the screen to go into the level, it will kind of tell you what give you a briefing on the side mission to kind of ease over the loading screens, which are pretty bad. The loading screens can be like 30 plus seconds. But you can, and you can also go back and replay levels. If you missed the side mission, if you missed the hidden skill coin, you can go back and replay the levels, which gives it good replayability. Then the levels are also broken up into different kinds. You may have rescue missions, missions where you have to drop cargo at certain points, where you're refueling transports, just straight up escort missions to where you're having to escort maybe a transport through the board, and then also stealth missions. So I mean, there's a good mix. Oh yeah, and then there's also just you're playing survival to where you don't really have much of a objective, just to make it through the level without dying. But the rescue, drop, and refuel are kind of like very similar to where you'll have to find a certain area and then hover over it for a couple seconds until you rescue the people or drop your cargo or refuel the transport. But the variety is definitely nice variety as opposed to just having straight up survival missions all the time. During the levels, you can acquire power-up crates, which are a bit, I'd say they're a bit underwhelming. You don't get any spectacular real, just power-ups to your weapons. But I mean, they do make a difference. They're just not super power-ups. But on the other hand, at the same time, you have specials, so you can acquire different specials and pick or upgrade to different specials in your tree for each player. And once you charge up your special, then you can use it, and those are pretty good. Those definitely do some quality damage. As far as the difficulty, you start with normal and hard difficulty, and then once you complete the game, you unlock extreme difficulty. And I played through on normal, my first playthrough, and it starts pretty easy, but it gets progressively harder. By the time you get to the later chapters, you can definitely tell an increase in difficulty. And then once you get into the other hard and extreme, I mean, the difficulty spikes up. You'll have less lives and stuff like that. But I mean, it definitely is challenging. But at the same time, I believe that normal is actually a good entry point if you're someone who does not like extremely hard shooters. This is probably a good game for you, because I mean, the normal is definitely not out of control to where it's like, this is something that I think if you're pretty decent at shooters at all, I mean, you should be able to get through this one and enjoy yourself. It took me just over playing through on normal. It took me around 6.5 hours, just give or take a couple minutes to play through on normal. And I mean, I didn't go back and grab. There's still hidden side missions and hidden coins or whatnot that I could have gone back and got, but that was just my initial playthrough. Because like I said, most of the levels you can get through pretty easily until you get to the 5th chapter, and then the difficulty level steps up pretty high. But in some boss battles, took me 30 minutes to an hour to get through, because I just had to keep replaying them. And cool thing is that the level ups will carry over to other difficulties. So let's say you play through on normal and you're leveling up your characters along the way. You complete it, and now you want to go through and play through on on hard or extreme, your players, whatever level ups of your attributes that you have, your players will carry over, which is, I think, actually pretty cool. One of the, I guess you can get into some of the downsides of the game is that there is no online leaderboard, which is kind of a bummer. But it does save personal scores per level, so you have like a personal high score per level that you can save and kind of go after. But like I said, no online leaderboards, which kind of is a bummer. And the only other real complaint that I would have is that on some of, and this is mainly just for the later levels, is that there is a bit, I'd say, slowdown. There just gets, at some points, there's just so much on screen that it's definitely a noticeable slowdown at certain points. I mean, it didn't ruin the game for me at all, but it was definitely noticeable. And I feel that the devs did something that was kind of clever, to where on these later stages they introduced these enemies that will shoot out like ice crystals, and when you get hit by these ice crystals, it slows your ship down. So I think they did that kind of to mask maybe the slowdown, because at some point in time I couldn't tell if I was iced over by the enemies from getting hit by ice crystals, or if I was just a legitimate slowdown from the game. So it was noticeable, but it didn't ruin the experience for me. Other than that, I mean, that your plane flies around like extremely fast. I mean, you maneuver really quick, and you have a lot of stuff going on. You have a good variety of enemies, big enemies, little enemies, with just all kinds of stuff flying over the screen, and you can maneuver around extremely quick most of the time. So yeah, that about I guess that about wraps it up for the gameplay. So what do you guys think about Aces of the Luftwaffe Squadron? I myself just picked it up about a week ago. I was looking at just some shooters on the Nintendo eShop that I have not picked up. I was actually going to do a couple just groups of 5 shooters, and just kind of touch briefly on them. This video, or this game, I felt had too much content for me really to cover in a video of that format. I felt that I needed to do it, give it its own video. It's not as polished as something like Ikaruga, but I mean, nothing really is. But at the same time, Ikaruga's been around for 20 years or so. So this is something that I feel is a little bit different. I feel that this could kind of touch home on like some people who aren't really like into the hardcore shooters. So I feel I can touch a broader group of people. But I myself enjoyed it at $14.99. It is kind of it's not the cheapest game, but it's not too expensive. But I believe that there is enough content there as far as replayability and just overall content. So it's a nice package, I think, from an indie developed game. So if you guys are going to pick it up, let me know down in the comments. If you have already picked it up and let me know what you think about the game. Let me know if you like it or don't like it. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And I will see you guys next time. Later.